Hello viewers, our guest for today is Her Excellency, Professor Judi Wakhungu. She's Kenya's ambassador to France, Holy See, Portugal, Serbia and Monaco. From 2013 to 2018, she served as Kenya's Minister of Environment and Natural Resources. Her legislation during her tenure as minister is globally unmatched. These include banning single-use plastic bags in Kenya in 2017, leading banning of Kenya's ivory and rhino horn stockpiles in 2016 to curb illegal wildlife trade, enacting the Wildlife and Conservation Act 2013, Climate Change Act 2016, Water Act 2016, Amending Environment Act 2015, and Forestry Act 2015. Leading the Waste Management Bill and many other environment and conservation regulations. Professor Wakhungu is a recipient of many awards, including Honorary Doctorate of Science from University of Reading, Oceans Award 2018, Clark R. Bavin Award 2016, Distinguished Alumni Award from Penn State University and St. Lawrence University. As Kenya's first woman pioneer in geology, she has the distinction of monitoring many STEM students. Welcome, Professor Judi Wakhungu. Can you tell us more about yourself, apart from what I've just mentioned?
Thank you very much, Mercy, for welcoming me. I hope you can hear me clearly, yes. But I'm open to your questions.
Okay. Apart from what you can research about Her Excellency Judi Wakhungu, what else can you tell us about yourself?
Ooh, okay, there's so much I can tell you. Many people don't know that I'm also a former tennis champion, and I have represented Kenya at the highest levels, including at some point me being #1 just after my sister was #1 Kenya's tennis player. I am a medalist at the All Africa Games. As a junior, I participated at the highest levels globally. I am also a scholar athlete where I played in the NCAAs as a tennis player. So those are things people don't know.
Wow. Okay. And how was it as a young girl being brought up in Kenya?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. You know, those days it was, the best time, because we had the best of both worlds. We went to school in Nairobi, but for holidays, we had to go to the rural areas. We had to go to the rural areas with all our cousins. So, everybody was loaded up in the various cars. And then we had to go to the rural areas to learn what rural life was all about. So we went from having the comforts of Nairobi to now proper rural areas upbringing. And I think that meant being in the outdoors, appreciating the environment, appreciating each other, but also most importantly, learning from our elders about our traditions, our heritage, who we were as a people. And that helped shape our understanding of who we are, the definition of who we are, and what we were to become.
Yeah. I also remember when you were young, primary school, used to go to my grandpa's a lot, but now we don't go there often, and we really miss those moments where we were all together, having fun, interacting. Every family member was present. So I kind of understand what you're talking about, and it was really, those are very memorable moments to keep as a young girl, even as a woman growing up. Yeah. And what are some of the beautiful memories that you have growing up?
Okay, the most beautiful memories, like I said, it's combining both. So when we were in the rural areas, we had the freedom of just exploring nature, being with nature, running in the rivers, swimming in the rivers, deciding we're running away from home, and then packing our lunches, and then running off to climb the rocks. In Western Kenya, there are rocks all over the place. So we'd run up and climb the highest rocks, we'd run away from home. And then of course we would borrow some food from home, which we would cook when we were on our hikes. We cooked very bad food, but we really enjoyed it at that time because it was our own food.
Yeah.
we learned to appreciate the berries and the wild fruits that was so abundant in those days. So we learned botany, we learned zoology, we learned soil science, we learned geology, but we did it in our own way. You know, we did it in our own way. Later in school, so when we came back to Nairobi and then we would be in school, what we had done and explored in nature, in the rural areas, now we got the formalities of it in the curriculum those days. We truly appreciated that. We appreciated the discipline, both at school and at home. Any neighbor could discipline you. I was whipped more by my uncles and aunties than my own parents, because we had to be obedient to all the grown-ups. The hierarchy was the same. If I misbehaved in school, which I can guarantee you was very often, a parent had to be summoned to a school to say, now look at your daughter's conduct and she needs to pull up her socks. And even you as a parent must do something to instill discipline, you know, in this young pupil. So that was the fun part. Then we were also guided to explore our talents. We were expected to participate in everything, whether it was art, music, sports, and it was all sports. We were expected to participate in everything. And then slowly by slowly, as we were growing up, our teachers and our parents began to appreciate and understand where we had an aptitude. Though we learned everything, but as slowly we grew up, they now focused us on the areas where we thought we were most talented. That was the beauty. Another aspect of it is that, you know, we had no toys. You know, little kids nowadays had toys. So we had to create our own toys, play with our toys, share the toys that we had created. And that was also a lot of fun. You know, these days, young children are just using smartphones, they're using iPads.
PS5 and 4.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't have that. We didn't have that. So we had real connectivity and interaction and passion. Now, why is that important? Those same friends that I made when I was 5 years old are still my friends today, no matter where they are in the world.
Yeah, you really made me remember how fun growing up was. Nowadays, even like I have a daughter, she is either on TV, using the phone, playing is very minimal, only when maybe they are together with their cousins, and even when the cousins find them, some of them are using their phones. That's what they are using to watch some videos. And also, honestly, those were very memorable moments for me, and I appreciate. And for you, did you ever, while growing up, did you ever see yourself becoming who you are today, a person of authority, an international figure? Did you ever have those, you have this feeling of, I'm going to be a great woman, I'm going to do so much, I'm going to impact the world?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Wow.
because that's what we were prepared to do, all of us. So it was up to whether you wanted to pursue that avenue or not. But we were created, nurtured to know what our pinnacle was. What is your pinnacle? And we had to state that. And how are you going to get there? So we were brought up to believe that whatever it is we want to achieve, with hard work, with proper mentoring, with discipline, definitely, doors will open for you. So I can't say that I'm great because I'm still on that journey. But yes, so I grew up with a lot of confidence. It wasn't easy. And when things were hard, and even today, sometimes they're very hard, you just go back to those messages those people that were with you, those cheerleaders that were with you when you were young, and they're still, whether they're still with us today or not, their voices are loud. Their voices are loud.
Yeah, and I've noticed that there are so many people, okay, nowadays, there are some people who want to pull you down, who want to like make you not realize your potential, who tell you like you cannot make it, your dreams, you have very weird dreams. How can you dream of having a car if you don't have a car, don't even have a bicycle? So for hearing you have those people around you who are supportive of you, who like pushed you and made you feel like, yes, you can achieve this, it's very important. Even attentive in our own parents, they're not encouraging enough. They don't like push us enough or maybe make us feel like we can achieve all that we desire to achieve. So that is, you're very lucky because we don't have many people who do that nowadays. So yeah.
Well, you know, what you're doing is you can find them. You know, you can find them. The beauty about, you know, ICT nowadays is that they don't have to be at home. You can use the platform to reach out to people. I mean, you reached out to me through LinkedIn, you know, like many young people do. And I try my level best. It's not easy, but I try my level best to respond because I have to give back to what was provided for me. I try my level best to do so, just to encourage you, just to say the world is your platform. Use this forum as much as possible to reach out to people. Now, let me say something about parents. Sometimes when you feel that parents are not encouraging you, it means they're actually protecting you. It is their own way. So don't take it necessarily negatively. It's just their own way sometimes of protecting you to say, oh, I don't want to release my daughter to a world that is unknown. If I release her to a world that's unknown, let me keep her in this safe space. Whereas the explorer in you, the adventurer in you, the aspirations that you want mean that you must leave that cocoon of home and go and seek your dreams and your goals. So just take that, keep that in mind. So when you think the parents aren't encouraging you, it's their own interpretation of protecting their precious child.
Okay, thank you so much. Now let's talk about your career life. What is the most demanding and challenging job that you've ever done?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. So I you know, I always tell young people, the reason we call a job a job, it's a job. It's not an fun. It's not fun. But you see, if you have, if you're determined and you want to make a difference, then every single job is very tough. Now, what you can have is you can be fortunate enough to have, you know, good leaders, good bosses, and so on and so forth. But, you know, really a job is a job. And then you just have to be very determined to make sure that you leave your footprint, you leave an impression, you leave a legacy, no matter how big or small, so that even if it's in a small job, somebody will notice you. And then, of course, if it's a big job, you're in the limelight, then it gets even harder. So I started as a geologist. My first degree is in geology. And at that, my first assignment was in geothermal exploration. So I take pride myself and the first few geologists that we started with in Kenya, doing the mapping in Iburu, what's Okaria now. So all of these places where we're now generating geothermal power, you know, we were just a young group, you know, of geologists that did the mapping at that time under very careful care of our senior geologists and, you know, other policymakers at that time. So that's what we did. Then many of us did that for a little while. And then I think almost all of us, I think were 5 of us, then got scholarships to Canada. My first degree is from New York. Then we all got Canada scholarships to pursue now petroleum exploration. Because now Kenya was embarking on the petroleum exploration. We came back home after finishing in Canada very quickly, very efficiently, of course. Then also continued to do field work in petroleum exploration, northern parts of Kenya. And then the initial blocks that were determined, it was actually determined by our group of geologists. Of course, in both these areas, I was the only woman as part of the team, and I have many tales to to tell about what that what that meant. Many tales. But you see, most of it was very hard, but it was also very rewarding. You just have to be tough. At that point, I also knew that I wanted to embark on my academic career. So I wanted to use the platform of what I had done and then pursue a PhD. And this is a PhD, which is a doctorate, not the Kenyan pull him or her down that you mentioned. But even though that comes with it. So I then pursued, I wanted to round up everything that I had learned about energy, exploration, geothermal, petroleum, and everything I knew using my lens as a geologist. But now I wanted to round everything up and then pursued my doctorate in energy resources management, which of course entailed, advising, say, Kenya, what is the best option, given our energy resources, using the lens that I believe in of energy as part of our national security. How can Kenya be self-sufficient in energy? So that was, in a very simple way, the foundation of my doctoral thesis, which I then built on to embark on many other areas. So I have ended up advising at the highest levels in the world. I have served as science advisor to the Secretary General of the UN. I've served as energy advisor to the SMAP group at the World Bank. I have served as on the boards of anything that you can name, but everything has been very difficult, but also very rewarding and definitely worth pursuing. Yeah. So I just continue to be passionate about what it is I do. I expand it. And like I said, it's not easy, but it needs to be done.
Yeah. Let me just say congratulations. You've given us women the momentum to push on, not to allow ourselves feel like this is not my field, this is a male field. We can all do it. And you've encouraged me personally, so I appreciate.
Look, and if just spend minutes with you encourages you and it encourages your audience, that's all we do. Yeah, that's all we do. Take heart, be confident, reach out like you have reached out, and just continue pushing. Today may be a bad day, but tomorrow may be a bright day. Yeah, and so continue to be determined.
Thank you. And how was the transition process moving to France?
Okay. It wasn't difficult at all, simply because I went to school in New York. I went to school in Canada, and in between, everything and then I finalized my PhD and then taught for many years in Pennsylvania, where I just was last week to receive that award. Yeah. So, I've always been in transition. I think I'm nomadic or a pastoralist by nature. I've never really been settled. So moving to France was an easy transition. It's simply just moving from one office to another office, and then off you go. And then, as usual, you hit the ground running at top speed.
And how is it being an ambassador to France, Serbia? How is it being an ambassador?
Well, the spotlight continues. One can't be as, I'm still learning diplomacy. I'm a very direct person, as you can tell. So I'm still learning diplomacy. But, again, one has to be very careful because you're representing one's government in 5 different jurisdictions, and that is what I have. And then it means expanding our foreign policy to enhance the bilateral relations we have with each of all these countries. We want to enhance the people-to-people relations. We want to enhance our trade. We want to open up markets for our goods in each of these jurisdictions. We also want to build the relationships and strengthen our bilateral relationships such that when we are operating on the multilateral platform, the countries under my jurisdiction can always support the Kenyan position. So it's like expanding, it's like having an extended family. We value the reciprocity. In other words, you support me for this particular initiative, and then we will support you for this particular initiative. Let's have those cultural exchanges. We live in a global community. Education for our students doesn't mean just Kenya. Education for French students, Serbian students, Portuguese students also just does not mean their particular countries, but it means expanding their horizons also to Kenya. It's building a network, and that's really the importance.
Nice. Now let's get out of your career life. Let's talk about family life. How is our ambassador as a family woman?
Okay, the ambassador I'm not a mother in terms I don't have my own children, but I am a mother to very, very many in terms of my nephews, my nieces, my friends' kids, so I have a very extended family. And you see, we're getting to the point where this family and extended family is growing so much that I now am a very proud grandmother to my grandnieces and my grandnephews. And the only problem I have now is their parents, because you see, I am the cool mother, you see. I'm getting now to a point where their parents are saying I'm spoiling them. So they visit. Before Corona hit us, they were visiting. And now, I see them very often, as often as I can. And, we communicate through platforms like this. And so it's a beautiful experience.
And having grown up in Africa, Kenya, what are some of the activities that may be normal in France, but maybe seem as wrong or weird in Kenya as a family?
Okay, I think there is more discipline and hierarchy in Kenya. Our families are still very much together, right? So that, those that have children, they probably have a routine with the grandparents. They probably have a routine with the aunties. Yeah. And growing up in Kenya, it still means that it's very, very rare for just that one nuclear family to be in the house alone. You always have a cousin that's staying with you. Yeah, a younger sibling that's staying with you, or you're staying with an older sibling. So we're still very much intertwined, as families, as compared, to say France. Living here in Paris, it's not unusual because the elders are many as compared to us. There are more elders here than there are younger children. So it's not unusual that you'll find elderly people are living alone or just a couple in an apartment, by themselves. And then maybe they schedule maybe once or twice to see their children and grandchildren. So the families here are more sort of nuclear, whereas ours are totally extended. And that is the difference. We are still very much attached to our rural areas. Yeah. Here, not so. You will find a Parisien is a Parisien. You see, they moved here many years ago. and they may not be that attached to a rural area. If it's a rural area, they probably got, a holiday home somewhere, those with means, and there are many of them, but it's not going back to your roots. As it were, they have planted new roots. So that is the difference. Our children still play outdoors, etc., whereas here they are more inside. First of all, because of the seasons, the weather half the time and so on. So there is a great difference. Now, however, in terms of extracurricular activities, I would say the facilities here in France, or even Portugal, because I have to remember that I represent 5 jurisdictions, but we're hosted here in Paris, in France. The facilities for extracurricular activities are first class. So, for example, the children that want to study music or want to participate in a sport, we do appreciate that the coaching, the teaching will be world class, and there are many there are many assets for the children and for the families having that opportunity.
Wow, I've learned something. Yeah, there's a difference there. And I have an uncle of mine who lives in Switzerland. So when they come to Kenya and they've come to my grandma's place, I will see the younger kid. She's a lady. She will wear the shorts and all, and the grandma will be like, no. Cover her. She was supposed to go jumping over her father like that. There needs to be that, So here it's different. My grandma doesn't really understand why we need to be so close to our parents, hugging our fathers, jumping around when they're around, the way we need to dress when they're around. So different.
No, it is, but you see, even for those little ones, for them coming to Kenya from Switzerland, it's a joy. It truly is a joy for them. And then that banter between the grandchild and the grandmother will be memorable for forever, for both. It's very important. So it's a banter. The grandmother knows, but she also is totally conservative in her values. So it's just part of the banter, it's part of the fun, part of the cultural exchange, and also giving that young one that identity of being Kenyan, even though she's Swiss. Yeah. Having the benefit of both worlds.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy? What do you do during your free time?
I don't have much. I don't have much free time because basically we work 24/7. So what I like to do is hike. Still very much involved in sports. I don't play tennis anymore, but when I can, I like to play golf, because when I dropped my tennis rackets, I switched to golf. But I like being out in nature and exploring what's around me. And then I like also being in Zen, just sort of having time to meditate. And I know we all meditate in our own way, but for me, being outside there is very important. As we open up, I still like going to the theater, as we open up. So it's beginning to open up now in France. I love going to the museums. I was a terrible history student. Terrible history was my worst subject. Just awful.
Same here.
Just awful. But somehow when I go to exhibitions and I visit museums, and here in Europe, there's so many of them. When I visit these museums, I learn so much of what I didn't appreciate, when I was younger, because I'm now seeing the exhibitions, I can touch them, I can appreciate them. Whereas learning them, all those years ago, I just didn't see why and what the value of it was. And I also felt it was a bit too subjective.
Yeah.
You're learning history from so-and-so's perspective. Now, when I come home, interestingly enough, I will probably spend 1 or 2 days in Nairobi, and then I disappear into the wilderness.
Do you look for fish?
I'm looking for elephants. I want to be with rhino. I just want to be with the wildlife. I'm not very good at fishing. I just like eating the fish, but I've never been very good at fishing, as a sport, but I love eating fish. But I just like being in the wilderness where I can see the variety of birds, enjoy the biodiversity, because this is a gift that we have in Kenya that we take for granted. Yeah, that we take for granted. So I just like being out there.
Yeah, I understand what you say take for, like for me, I live in Kenya, but I can't tell you I cannot even count 3 places that I've been to just see the wildlife. I think I've only been to Mount Long.
No, Mount Long.
We don't appreciate. I've been to Mamba Village when I was a kid. Those trips used to go to when you were in primary school. That's the only time I've been out there. So,
well, explore it.
Tembea Kenya initiative.
Tembea Kenya, Kenya, magical Kenya. That's what we say. Tembea Kenya. It is magical Kenya. And climbing up Longonot. Yes, we all did that as kids, and we used to camp. I was in an all-girls school, women nuns and teachers, and we would just camp. Those days it was free. We would just pitch our tents and stay there for the weekend or for the week. If it was a geography lesson, for example, or if it was a nature study lesson, for example. Kenyans, Mercy, you need to explore, because, we get wageni coming from so far to see what's next door to you. And you see what this very depressing pandemic, COVID, has taught. Our tourism industry is valuing that domestic tourism, that tourist, that means you and us. And they've done an amazing package, to attract, us, me, you, to explore the facilities and the wonders of nature that we have. And so just try, if you've been up long or not, maybe try again, go to Nairobi National Park. I mean, that is so special. The only national park in a capital city, in the world. Totally special, totally special. Go to Karura Forest. Go to the Arboretum. We have so much. And, and we protect our green spaces, with passion. We really protect them with passion. So just continue to explore, and that intrigue will return just like that. Take your daughter.
Yeah. There have been a lot of talks about women empowerment, where the men feel like this women empowerment has made women so proud, and they're not, so what would you really tell us about women empowerment? Is it really a bad thing, or is it a good thing, or is it that men need they need to get to our level and understand that you have to be empowered, and they need to also, get empowered themselves to get to our level? Or are we supposed to chill and understand that yes, you're married, you have a husband, as much as you're on women empowerment, you need to cool down and understand that you need to be submissive? What is your take about women empowerment?
Women empowerment means family empowerment. We're living in a world where we just can't rely on one spouse. Both partners are so important in terms of creating and improving their livelihoods and their goals and their ambitions for their families. So women empowerment is family empowerment. And men need not be, intimidated. Men need not to be intimidated. A family has both partners, and all families have partners of both genders. And together, given our distinct perspectives and experiences, we form formidable teams. We really do. So it's not that, unajiringa or what. No, it is the fact that you are supporting each other so that your families together can achieve those goals. And I've got many, many stories about those that have been able to do so and those that have been not. What I know is that families where both genders, both spouses, even when it just comes to siblings, brothers support sisters, sisters support brothers, cousins support each other, those families always succeed. Yeah, always, always succeed. You know, I have a beautiful story from a long, long time ago where we were in graduate school together and it was tough. And both of us were in male-dominated fields. She was in a different faculty, I was in a different faculty. But she came with her very young family. And she came with a very supportive husband who actually left his job in Kenya to support his wife. There were 2 little kids, toddlers, but he knew his wife's aspiration was pursue this specific area, you know, in science, in a male-dominated field. So he said, you know, while I'm there, I'll find something to do, you know, as a consultant and so on, which indeed he did. But he supported his wife. Now, it's not easy. It is not easy. But the beauty of this story is that on the day of graduation, when his wife was now graduating with her PhD, he also went and bought a graduation gown for himself and basically said, we've been living through this process together. So I am also doctor by association.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of support is that? That was many, many years ago, but they are both excelling. They are both excelling, tops in their field because of that's the support. That is the Kenya we want. Those are the families that we want. Let's not leave anyone behind. Let us support each other.
Yeah. And having interacted with our generation of career men and women, what advice will you give us on career goals and how we are to carry ourselves in the social and professional life?
You know, first of all, believe. You know, believe that you can achieve. Also understand that it will be lifelong learning. You can study accountancy and end up being in HR. You know, the opportunities will present themselves. You can study mechanical engineering and then you end up in finance. You understand? You can study biology, then you end up being an excellent science teacher. We can accommodate anything. So it's lifelong learning. Don't say I'm stuck because this is what I pursued, so I'm stuck in this field. No, be open. Be open to the opportunities that present themselves to you. And sometimes you just stumble in it. You may not have planned it, but you stumble in it. But always have a plan. Say, this is plan A for now. If this doesn't work, I have B, C, D. And I always tell people, even go up to plan F, you know, so that if this doesn't work, you've got this. If this doesn't work, you've got this. If this doesn't work, you've got this. But just be confident in yourselves. Continue to support each other. It's absolutely important. Reach out the way you have reached out. Just be confident. Even if you reach out to 100 people and only one responds, that one person can make a difference. Lifelong learning, very important for your generation. Also understand that some of you can combine both. You can combine both pursuing your careers at the highest level that avails itself to you, but also having a family. You can do both. It's not easy. It's not easy. Most importantly, it's not easy. But you can do it, and we have that confidence in you.
Thank you so much. For me, like once I cleared high school, I went to the presenter show KTN, and I was doing an audition to become a presenter, and it didn't work out. So I went back to my books, became the HR assistant at Release Water, and then later on, like last year September, that's when Mary Angela, the TBC CEO, approached me and was like, "You're doing this. and we'd like to partner with you so we can also do self-journalism. And I was like, okay, yeah, really, I'm willing to do it. And here I am. So yeah, it's true. At times things don't go where they want to, but just don't give up. You'll finally get to finally get to what you really want to be, as long as you don't give up on yourself and take the opportunities as they come.
And then you'll be surprised that this platform that you are creating now will be much bigger than what you were denied, previously. Yeah. And you see, this is your time, this is your generation, this is your time. I mean, I know so many young people that I think they call themselves bloggers and vloggers. I don't know. I don't know what the terminology is. And they say they're making a living, as vloggers and bloggers and it's their passion. Then they're able to work from home. Some of them are able to use the same platform to have their own, radio stations. So the opportunities are there. And I think just keep moving with the times, keep moving with the technology, keep reaching out. And, the rest will be history. You'll make it. Keep trying.
Thank you. And what other career aspirations are you working on currently?
What other career aspirations? Well, I'm sort of rounding up my career now. And, I'm thinking, okay, most of my life, I've been a professor. And now I've done, my stint in public service, worked for international organizations, advised them. I feel I have got so much to take back to the classroom now, because what we take back to the classroom is our practical experience. We're not just in theory. So I feel, I've got so much to take back to the classroom, and then maybe to go back at the university, to only teach, but also work in administration at the university to shape the future curriculum and the reality of what the future curriculum means. So that's sort of what I have in mind. In terms of the pinnacles I had 5, I've already achieved 3, so there are just 2 remaining before I round it off.
Oh, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. Honestly, when I sent you that message, I was like, let her just respond to me. So I know you did. I was so excited. I called my mom, I called my dad. I was so excited. So I really appreciate, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
May you achieve even more than you ever imagined you could achieve, and may you also reach to other young ladies and men like me who, in one or another, may need help. Like for me, yes, this is an interview I'm doing for my audience, but I also learned so much. And I'm not going to leave this interview the same way I came in. And for me, that is something that I hold dear. And TBC family wishes you the best. We appreciate you. And
thank you.
We'll talk more. I still have your contact. As you say, I won't stop bothering you once in a while.
It's okay. And you have enriched me as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.